Mark chapter 4, verses 26 to 32. A parable about the seeds. He said, "This is how it is with the kingdom of God. It is as if a man were to scatter seed on the land, and would sleep and rise night and day, and the seed would sprout and grow. He knows not how. Of its own accord the land yields fruit, first the blade, then the ear, then the full grain of the ear. And when the grain is ripe, he wields the sickle at once, for the harvest has come." He said, "To what shall we compare the kingdom of God? Or what parable can we use for it? It is like a mustard seed, that when it is sown in the ground, is the smallest of all seeds on earth. But once it is sown, it springs up and becomes the largest of plants and puts forth huge branches, so that the birds of the sky can dwell in its shade." With many such parables he spoke the word to them, as they were able to understand it. Without parables he did not speak to them, but to his own disciples he explained everything in private. God has planted the seed of life in you. What kind of soil are you? Man can discover things, he can rearrange them, he can develop them, but he cannot create them. On a ship, we can make water, but are we really making water or simply filtering out the salt? We did not create the kingdom of God. God created the kingdom of God. Our position in God's plan is to be stewards, caretakers, and developers of all that He has given us. We need to create situations in our lives and portions of the world where we become His fertile soil, a soil that gives His seeds a great opportunity to mature more quickly. He plants the seeds. He nourishes and waters them. We need to weed out the thorns and the thistles of sin and allow the seeds to grow unhindered. Jesus so often uses illustrations from the growth found in nature to describe the coming of the kingdom of God. Nature's growth is often undetectable. If we see a plant every day, we cannot see its growth taking place. It is only when we don't see it for a period of time that we notice the difference. Your spiritual life is similar. You start off holding someone's hand who leads you to church. Years later, you become the person holding the hand of another on your way to church. During the time between being held and holding the hand of another, major steps of faith development have taken place. The actual spiritual growth isn't easily seen, but it surely took place. Nature's growth is inevitable. There is nothing so powerful as growth. A tree can split concrete pavement with the power of its growth. A weed can push its green head through an asphalt path. Nothing can stop growth. The same goes for the kingdom. In spite of man's rebellion and disobedience, God's work goes on, and nothing in the end can stop the purpose of God. Plants grow and mature, and then it's time to harvest. Inevitably, when the harvest comes, two things happen, which are opposite sides of the same coin. The good fruit is gathered in, and the weeds are destroyed. Harvest and judgment go hand in hand. When we think of harvesting, three things must happen. First, in harvesting, the plant dies. Second, in dying, the good fruit is stored in the barn, heaven. And 3, the thorns, thistles, or weeds are burned in the fires of hell. Jesus stressed that the kingdom of God would have a small beginning. The kingdom began with Jesus alone, and upon his ascension was left in the care of the 12 apostles. Jesus compared this beginning to a mustard seed, which was the smallest seed a farmer used at the time. This parable speaks of the growth of the church. The mustard seed is the church. The birds are the different nations of the earth who find shelter in the church. The church began with an individual, Christ, and his teachings. His word is meant not to be hidden, but to be shared throughout the world.